President Biden in Michigan touring Ford's new factory as he touts his jobs plan that would fund charging stations for electric vehicles nationwide. Ford is set to unveil the first ever electric version of its F-150 pickup truck, one of the most popular vehicles in the country. White House correspondent Karen Travers joins us live now for more on this. And Karen, I'm curious what Biden's hoping to accomplish on this trip.
Eva, he is selling that infrastructure plan, $2.3 trillion. And, they're waiting right now for a counteroffer from Republicans. But all the signs last week were pointing to an actual bit of optimism about a bipartisan compromise potentially in reach. But the president is out there today to talk about that move to a green economy and electric vehicles. Ford rolling out tomorrow that new electric F-150 pickup truck. They're very excited about this. So the president got a little sneak peek of it. And, part of that infrastructure plan, Eva, $174 billion goes to supporting the development of electric cars. A lot of that money is going to set up about 500,000 charging stations around the country. The president says this is necessary. This is the way of the future. And he went out there to highlight the work Ford is doing. Eva, I have to mention, the president loves cars. He loves talking about his Corvette. He loves driving cars. And when he was giving remarks, he said he was hoping to ask Secret Service, maybe he could take it out for a spin. He did. He went out to a test track at Ford and was driving that new electric pickup truck and said it went pretty fast in just a couple of seconds.
I think that surprises none of us that have covered him on the trail, right? Michigan is also home to the largest percentage of Arab Americans of any state, and activists there are protesting the violence that we're seeing in Israel right now. Biden has now publicly endorsed a ceasefire. But how is the administration working to de-escalate tensions that are happening right now in the Middle East?
Quiet, intensive, behind-the-scenes discussions. That's what the White House press secretary told reporters on Air Force One heading out to Michigan. They say that is their approach right now, and that is what they're going to continue to do. Eva, the president spoke to the Israeli prime minister yesterday. That was their third phone conversation in just under a week. And during that call, the White House said the president expressed his support for a ceasefire. But it was a very carefully worded statement from the White House last night. It didn't give a timeline. It didn't really even give a firm push to end the violence immediately. A lot of questions today about that to the White House press secretary, and Eva, she did not explain it any further, just saying that these conversations continue to take place. The administration wants to see an end to the violence, but asked when they want to see that ceasefire, what terms or conditions there might be on the table that the United States would like to see. No details yet from the administration.
Yeah, and the pressure just continuing to build. Back in Washington, Republican leader Kevin McCarthy is rejecting calls for a bipartisan commission to investigate the January 6th insurrection, saying that it could be counterproductive. What exactly would the commission be investigating? And the big question, can it go ahead without McCarthy's support?
Yeah, that is the big question. And, this can, of course, pass without Republicans, but this will likely give cover to some who were on the fence or not sure what they were going to do about it. And Eva, this isn't a Democratic proposal. This was something that was negotiated, Democrats and Republicans, including a top lieutenant of Kevin McCarthy. So it was a big surprise. I think that you'd think he'd have the blessing to move forward and negotiate this with Democrats. And it was going to set up this commission that would have equal representation from both parties. Both parties then would have approval rights for subpoenas that they want to bring in people and ask them questions about what happened that day. But Kevin McCarthy, the top Republican, says it could be redundant because there are law enforcement investigations going on, and said it could potentially be counterproductive. McCarthy, of course, himself could be subpoenaed. There was already a call from Liz Cheney for that to happen because, remember, back on January 6th, he spoke to President Trump that day. There were a lot of questions about what that conversation was like, what the former president's state of mind was, and what he might have said or not said during that call. So we're still expecting this to come up for a vote. It could pass even if there are no Republicans on board. But even this does give Republicans a chance to say that this is now just a one-sided commission and partisan.
That makes it very different moving forward. Yesterday, President Biden announced the U.S. would share 20 million more doses of approved vaccines with the developing world. That brings the total commitment to 80 million doses, which is more than any other country by far. I know you've been talking to radio stations all around the country about this. What are the reactions that you're hearing?
Now, the reaction is that this is the right move for the United States right now. And I think if you had asked that same question a couple months ago when there was such a supply crunch and people were signing up on multiple sites to try and just get an appointment, the reaction was a bit different. People were concerned about U.S. vaccines going overseas. But now the reality is that we have enough supply for every adult that wants to get vaccinated. And those vaccination numbers, of course, have started to slow down. This is 80 million doses. 60 million are the AstraZeneca vaccine that isn't authorized yet here, so it can't be used. But the additional 20 million the president announced yesterday, Eva, that's Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. The president said it's the smart thing to do, it's the right thing to do, and he said it's the strong thing to do. Message we heard today from Dr. Fauci saying the U.S. has a moral obligation to help other countries that can't afford vaccines, and that's the only way this pandemic will truly end.
Karen Travers for us in Washington. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.